Five stack here on a one-night shakedown hike. Up around the corner we have the dam for the Lake Nantahala. So this is the Nantahala River. Doesn't look like much here because nearly all of it is diverted about 10 miles or so to a powerhouse. So let's get started. I am on the Bartram Trail in western North Carolina, and it is not far from the Appalachian Trail where I am. And I am on basically it's a low head, it's a road crossing for the Nantahala River. And I guess when the spillway opens from the dam just up around the corner, they close this off so no one gets swept away. So these stairs are to the Bartram Trail. Here's my pack. Some of this gear I've had for years, some of it's brand new. So this being a shakedown hike, I need to get it out, use it, see what works, and see if there's any adjustments I need to make before January. I also need to shake down my body. So I plan to push myself a little bit, not too much, and see what aches and pains I get, see if I get blisters, that kind of thing. It is so quiet out here. I can feel the stress just melting away. The Bartram Trail gets a yellow blaze. Should I say it? I don't know if I'm going to say it. It's a classic dad joke. And I'm a dad 5 times over. But Amelia, she would be mortified if I said it. I know she's watching this. Damn! The Nantahala Dam was built in the late 30s, and I think they started filling it up and generating power in 1942. And it provided power for aluminum plants to make, I'm assuming, airplane bodies for the war effort. About 10 years ago, I talked to an old guy who remembers as a kid them building the dam, and out on the lake, below the lake, is the former town of Aquone, which is really still on the map, but you would need scuba gear to go down and see it. Progressive man and all that. So Nantahala Lake is at about 3,000 feet. Where I started below the dam was 2,800 feet. And I think I'm about 300 feet above. So I think I've climbed about 500 feet already. And my route takes me along the lake for a while. And then I will climb steeply. And then I'll take another route, go back down, and then I will end up somewhere on the Appalachian Trail at Burning Town Gap, which is about 5,000 feet. So a lot of climbing, but I'm going to take it slow. I'm in no hurry. All right, I'm coming out of the woods onto Weyer Road for about a half-mile road walk before the trail leaves the Lake Nantahala and then climbs steeply. I'm still walking along the shores of Lake Nantahala. It looks like the lake is drawn down maybe 15 or 20 feet, I guess, to prepare for spring rains. If you go, just to get situated, if you go upstream of the lake and follow the Nantahala River, there's very little development in that direction, so the water quality is excellent. It takes you up into the Indian boundary area, and if you keep going up, you'll hit the Appalachian Trail. Some of the mountains along that part are Standing Indian Mountain, Albert Mountain. Those areas are right along the watershed boundary for the Nantahala River. If you go downstream over the dam, it takes you about 10 miles down to where there's a white water run where commercial rafts go and people can kayak and whatnot. And if you keep on going downstream, you'll pass the Nantahala Outdoor Center, and just downstream from that is Lake Fontana. And now I will be departing from Lake Nantahala, and judging from that, it looks like the Bartram Trail is getting ready to open up a can of whoop ass on me. Yikes! Hey, so I stopped here for second breakfast. Food weighs a lot, and you can get this freeze-dried stuff, and it's good, but it's also expensive. So what I try to do is eat the heavy stuff first. So I'm going to have some hard-boiled eggs and some tangerines. A big shout out to the Blue Ridge Bartram Trail Conservancy. They maintain this trail. There's a website. And I am at, according to this post, Sawmill Gap. And it's decision time. Should I keep going south on the Bartram Trail, or should I take this road walk and head downhill and lose the 2,000 feet or so that I've already gained? The way to describe it is for my 2-day hike is it's kind of like a lollipop, and so I've hiked up the stick. I'm at the base of the candy, and so I think I'm going to go left and go down clockwise along the candy, and then have to climb back up to the ridge on the AT, and then I'll come back this way and then hike back the Bartram Trail. Bye-bye Bartram Trail. See you tomorrow. Next order of business is to find some water. I usually only hike with 1 liter. This morning I packed out 2 liters because it's been really dry up here. Fortunately, I'm heading downhill quite a bit right now. And I'm no rocket hydrologist, but water, as far as I understand, tends to be at the bottom of hills, so I'm optimistic. I've been walking down this road for almost an hour, still have not yet seen a car, and this is a big road. There's 12-foot wide lanes, and so far I don't know why this road is here. Until now, this is the only thing down there. Horse people, they have influence. If they want a road, there's going to be a road. Look at this. My hypothesis is correct. There is water at the bottom of hills. Chocolate chip cookies from Publix. I think they make them in the store. They're not too bad. Just think, when I get out on the trail, all the calories I'll be burning and how many chocolate chip cookies I'm going to be able to eat. Oh yeah, I'm going to be talking a lot about chocolate chip cookies. That's where I started this morning, on the other side of that dam. Oh, great. I'm in a bear sanctuary. Well, I've had some adventures. I'll tell you about it later. Got to get to camp before dark. I think I did about 20 miles today. I did mean to, but that road walk I miscalculated horribly, and it was way longer. I thought it was 6 miles, and I think it was like 14 or 15 miles. And when I realized that, I'd already kind of changed my plans and had planned to camp somewhere else instead of where I am at Lick Log Gap on the Appalachian Trail. Fortunately, Buddy came along. Buddy was out in his pickup truck hunting grouse, and he stopped and offered me a ride through the rest of that road and all the way up to Burning Town Gap. So that made it possible to resume what my original plan was, and so I'm here. I've eaten dinner, done all my chores, and it's getting cold. It's probably going to be 25 degrees tonight. So good night. Tomorrow should be a shorter day, somewhere around 11 miles, but my track record for estimating that is not very good. Big shout out to Buddy. Thank you so much for giving me that lift. Buddy lives in Robbinsville and pretty much knows everything about everything in these parts. Thanks again. Day 2 of my Shakedown hike. I'm at Waya Bald. Looks like some weather, some rain is moving in for later today. I'm not worried about it because I will be off the trail. That's the town of Franklin, North Carolina, somewhere in that. There is a fire tower. If you come up here to Waya Bald, and you can drive up here, it's the funniest thing. If you come in the evening as the sun's going down, almost right when the sun goes down, all these rabbits just pop right out of these thickets, and they just sit there eating grass, and it's just the funniest thing. Here we have a white blaze and a yellow blaze, which means the Appalachian Trail and the Bartram Trail are combined right now, at least for another mile. All right, I'm back at Sawmill Gap. So I've completed the loop. That's the road I took yesterday that was 6 miles, but turned out to be 15 miles. So now I'm going to retrace my steps and head back to Nantahala Lake. Well, I'm done with my Shakedown hike. I'm back where I started. This happened about a mile back. Don't think I'm going to be able to hide this from my wife. I'm waiting for the results of my CAT scan. I feel fine. Not expecting any bad news. Good morning. Well, let's talk about what happened yesterday. It's definitely a learning experience for me, and I think maybe other folks, other hikers or backpackers could probably learn something from it as well. First of all, I'm okay. I went to the Murphy Medical Center in Murphy, North Carolina, to the emergency room, and when you think about an emergency room visit, you think, oh, okay, this is an all-day affair. They had me out of there with the CAT scan and patched up. Yikes. In really less than 2 hours, and all the staff there I worked with was awesome, and so that was a very positive experience. I also, and I didn't realize this till this morning, I wrenched my right knee pretty bad, and so that's something I have to contend with. So what happened? For 2 days, I had been hiking on the dry leaves that have been that are on the ground here in western North Carolina. So it's only been a week or two since the fall foliage has dropped. It hasn't rained, and you think, well, wet leaves are slippery, but dry leaves are slippery too. And what's worse is they can hide a lot of rocks, a lot of things below them. And I had been dealing with that the whole time, the better part of 30 miles. And it wasn't a big deal going uphill because you can kind of lean into the hill, and if you slip, you're close to the ground anyway. You just put a hand down and you're good to go. When you're going downhill, it's harder. Sometimes you're kind of skiing along, but you bend your knees. You don't take big steps. You try to find a rock to put your foot on, and I really didn't have any trouble navigating that. The part of trail I was on when the accident happened, it was on the steep side of a hill, but the trail itself was level, and so it's kind of a piece of the trail where you move right along. It's not really going up or down, and I didn't. I guess I just lost concentration. I was taking big steps. I was kind of moving along really fast, and one of those dry piles of leaves turned out to have nothing under it. So I took a step with my left foot, and basically all I got was air. So down I went. So there was that point where I didn't know if I was going to be okay or not. I smacked my head pretty hard, and I was bleeding, and so I kind of just took a moment to kind of self-assess what was going on. I pulled out a cloth from my backpack and put pressure on my wounds, and it was kind of like, okay, I have a mile to go, and I don't know if this is going to be okay or if I'm going to be okay, but I need to go ahead and walk that extra mile. So I just kept pressure on the wounds and started walking the last mile to my destination. So what have I learned from all this? Well, several things, but one thing is that hiking has risks, especially hiking alone. Even for experienced hikers. I've hiked in sections over the last 10 years. I've hiked about half of the Appalachian Trail and about 1,000 miles, and maybe another 1,000 miles on other trails, backpacking or day hikes, all of that stuff. But none of my experience came in handy as I was face planting into this rock. The other thing that I've learned is don't be in a hurry. And really, that's not the same as saying don't push yourself when you're on the trail. It's more of a mentality of not being in a hurry, and I sort of mean be in tune with how your body's feeling, and especially relevant for my case is be aware of the trail conditions, and don't lose focus there. If you're going to go fast, make sure you can see the trail. You're on a good section of trail. It's a lot easier to push yourself going uphill, and so that mentality of not being in a hurry. And I've understood that, but I probably forgot that yesterday. My experience yesterday also really highlights and emphasizes the need for people to know where you are, to know what your itinerary is. And I did a pretty good job of that on this hike. And I had some cell phone reception, and my wife could track me, and she knew where I was going and roughly when I was going to be there. I did not have a satellite phone where I could instantly communicate with the outside world. What does this mean for my through hike that I intend to start early next year? Well, first thing, I'd already planned to take a satellite phone with me so I can communicate, one of those that has an emergency SOS function. But if I start early like I had planned in January, or really if I start at all, it's going to depend on what my knee does. And that just highlights how precarious a through hike is. Even though you plan for it well ahead of time and you designate the time for it, things can happen, and nothing is a certainty there. All right, wrapping things up on my Shakedown hike. There's something that my wife and I always do in our family with the kids, and it's usually after a vacation or a road trip or something. We do something called highs, lows, and buffaloes. And so it gives a chance for everyone to talk about the experiences they had on that particular trip or vacation. So I'm going to do that for my Shakedown hike. So of course, the low is obviously this debacle, and the high was when I got a ride from a guy that was just out hunting on one of the Forest Service roads, and that allowed me to resume my hike as I had originally planned it. And but the conversations we had while he was giving me a ride was really nice, and it was nice to get that bit of trail magic, I guess you could call it that. So the buffalo's just usually it's something weird. It's not good, it's not bad. So my buffalo for my Shakedown hike was so I'm sitting in the emergency room in Murphy, and I hadn't been seen yet, and I look a mess. Just the bleeding had stopped, but there was just the wounds weren't cleaned, and so I was looking. I was looking pretty horrible, and there was a person sitting across from me, and she looked at me and asked if I owned an RV park where you could rent slips, just kind of out of the blue. And I'm like, well, I don't have any of those. So that's my buffalo for the trip.